In this short video, we're going to have a look at how to create a ratings vote. So in case you haven't seen one before, I thought it might be useful to have a look first at what that is. So if where we're going is not something that you want to do, at least you know to just stop watching now. So a ratings vote is one like this. So on most of our keypad voting questions, we tend to do a multiple choice vote where we ask a question and then we allow people to choose one option out of a list. This is a bit different. What we're going to do, we've got 5 items to rate. So mine is event evaluation as an example. So I want to know what they thought of the venue on a scale of 1 to 5, where 1 is very poor and 5 is excellent. How do they rate that? And I'd like to see an average score for that item. And then the same for catering, delegate packs, presentations, and networking opportunities. So to make sure this is the right video for you to watch, why don't we just quickly run a vote on this one so you can see it in action. So what will happen here, when we go to start voting, I'm not using any keypads, by the way, so the votes cast box says keyboard in it instead of 0 for the number of votes received. I'm just going to use the number buttons on my keyboard in order to test. So what we're seeing here is a little arrow that says that currently I want everybody to evaluate the venue. So on a scale of 1 to 5, where 5 is excellent, how much did you like the venue? So in order to get through this quickly, I'm only going to cast 6 votes on here. So let's get some votes in there so we can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people have voted. So if we pretend that's all of my audience, click to advance as though you're going to the next slide or animation. So when you click, you'll see that the vote starts again and the arrow is now pointing to catering. So what did we think of the catering? So let's cast some votes there and then move down to delegate pack. I'm going to speed up a bit more now by using the letter G for generate. That will give me random data, and close the vote and move us to presentations and finally to networking opportunities. So there's my results. So we can see that they weren't very happy with the presentations, but they really did have quite a lovely lunch. The other thing that we can do here is look at how we arrived at those averages. Now, if you've got an average score of 4.7, you know that most people voted 5, but maybe somebody voted 4. But if you're getting scores of around 3, so in this example, networking opportunities, it's got an average score of 3. That might have happened by lots of people pressing 3, or equally, you could have had half the group thought it was terrible and half the group thought it was fantastic. So if we wanted to look at that, if I hold down Alt and then I press E, because that's the item letter for networking, it will show me the distribution, and we still see the little arrow, so we know for sure we're looking at networking opportunities. To go back to my main graph, I'm going to hold down Alt and press Z, and I can have a look at another one if I want to. So we're back on the main one. Let's see how we arrived at 3.67 for the venue. So hold down Alt, press A, and there's our distribution. To go back to the graph, Alt, and then Z. Simple as that. So that's how you run them. But how do you set them up? If I escape out of here, we can actually add one. So there's 2 things you can do. One is ask us to send you one that's done and update the wording. But if you want to do this independently, you can absolutely do that. So what we're going to do is go to the ClickerPad menu, choose New Slide Wizard. And it is a voting slide, so that's fine. We're going to say Go. And when we get our list of templates, for this one we want to choose a bar chart because we want those horizontal bars that line up with the options. So that is template 2 in this current version of the software. If you're watching this long after I've recorded it, it might be a different template number. But it's a bar chart you're looking for. The default is a normal multiple choice bar chart slide. So all we've got to do is either type the question in or paste the question in. So I'm just going to copy that one, and I'm also going to copy these. So I'm just using Control C to copy, and I'm going to paste them in there. And I'm actually going to put this back to being 1 to 5. I do want it to be A to E in the end, but I want you to see how that would happen if you just typed. So I'm just going to say just keep that text. Let's move that box up a little bit like so. This all could have your slide master, it could have your logo, of course, but we're just going to concentrate on how to get the voting bit done. So get your slide looking exactly how you want it, go back to your ClickerPad menu, and this time choose Slide Editor. And we haven't actually got too much that we need to change here. So the first thing that we need to do is obviously change it from being a standard multiple choice vote into a ratings vote. So when I click on ratings, you'll notice down here that we see some changes. So let's do that now, change it to ratings, and I've got some extra options. So this is the little arrow that we saw. My default color has come up as orange, but if I click on that, I can change that and make that pink like I did in the last one. The other thing to look at here is I'm doing these on a scale of 1 to 5. You might not want to. You might want to do on a scale of 1 to 4. So use the down arrow, it's now 4. So you can go up and down. Obviously, you can't go past 10 because that's the highest number on your keypad. I'm just popping that back to 5 because that's what it says in my example. The other choice to make is, do you want to show results after every item? So did you want to see that average score after you voted for the venue? Or do you want to do it at the end after you vote on the final one? That's usually my preference, so I'm going to leave it on that one there. And now I've just got to make the graph line up and look good because, of course, that's how it looks right now. So it's absolutely not right. It's not lined up. It's only got 4 bars. It's not showing averages. It's showing percentages. So let's have a look at how we get that sorted. So pop along to the graphing tab and go to set graph position, and this is going to do a couple of things for us. It reads now that it's a rating slide, so it's going to change these from numbers to letters. It's also going to add your 5th bar, and finally it's going to change these to showing average scores because it knows it's a different vote type. So let's just hit the button and watch that happen. There we go. So we're now A to E, and this is our display. This is quite different to a normal multiple choice vote because these are all individual items. I'm dragging that with my mouse. So you can do that on these. You cannot do that when you're using a normal multiple choice vote. So what we're going to need to do is get these to the right size. So we need to get our box to the right size and we need to get our individual items to the right size. So I'm just going to drag it to roughly where I want it to be and adjust the bottom margin like so. We might have to fiddle around a bit to get this exactly right, but what I'm going to do is first make these a bit bigger. So I've right clicked on the last item and that border is now red. That means that's the one that we're going to be working with. If I use my right arrow on my keyboard, I can make that bar longer. And if I use my down arrow, I can make it a little thicker. So get that one to exactly the size that you want it to be. And then when you're happy with just that one, we can get the rest of them to copy the settings for that one. So what we're going to do now is right click in the empty space while this one's still red, and we're going to say resize to selected height, and then we're going to do it again, resize to selected length, and then another right click and say distribute vertically. And actually they've lined up pretty well. Sometimes it takes me a few goes at getting the height of the box right to get these to line up, but that's not bad. But you can play around with that until you're totally happy. The other thing you might want to do is just to make sure that the text is never going to be cut off in the highest scoring one, is just play a little bit with the margins. I just give a little bit of space there just to be safe, like so. And you also might want to make your fonts bigger. So as you've made that bigger, you might want to move that margin across again just to be sure. So let's unpin that, see roughly what it's going to look like. And then once you're completely happy and it's all perfect, you just click the X and it will draw that for you. So that's how that's going to look without the box visible. And the final step, as always, is to hit save and go. And that's it. That is how you create a ratings vote, and you already know how to run it. So hopefully you can have a bit of fun now creating one of these yourselves. If you have any problems, you can of course contact us at support@clickerpad.com.